Welcome back. Let's talk about Seattle, Washington, because there's 737,000 people that live there, and it could be important to them, and it could be important to you as well. So thank you for joining me, and let's jump in. If you're new to my channel, I'd like to say thank you for joining me. But I like to cover the areas outside of Seattle, Washington, but I'm going to get in depth today of Seattle itself. Now, again, if you're not acquainted with the Pacific Northwest region, Seattle, Washington is, obviously in Washington State, not Washington, D.C., but it's right along the I-5. I-5 bisects Seattle on both sides. And there's a number of things that we love and we hold dear. One of them is obviously Costco and the Seattle Seahawks. And if you could tell right here, I'm a fan of the Seahawks. They're 3-1 right now, and I'm selling tickets for this Sunday. But at the same time, I just kind of want to give you an overview of Seattle. Seattle is very large. It encompasses most of the Puget Sound area. And we're going to dig into the housing market inside of Seattle for you today. Now, let me go to just an overview. The people in Washington, Seattle, Washington, is roughly, like I said, 737,000. And the median income is right around $120,000 a year. Now, medium means if you line up everyone's income from left to right and lowest to highest, the exact middle is considered the medium. So that's $120,000 is the medium household income. And again, that accounts for household. So that's 2 persons in each household because, like I said, there's 368,000 household units inside Washington. So roughly 2 people in every single house. Now, employment rate is right around 72%. Some current event and news. Right now there's a Boeing strike going on, and also there's I believe there's a dock worker strike going on. But also a lot of the people that live inside of Seattle, they work for the Boeing area, so this could be impacting some things also. Bachelor degrees are higher. Roughly 69%, 70% of the people inside of Seattle have a bachelor degree or higher. I am not one of them. I'm just a real estate agent with a spreadsheet. So let's get into some numbers for you. Because I covered it took me some time and about 7,000 lines of data. But what I like to do is I do a review of the last 5 years by month. So you have an idea of what your house might be worth inside of Seattle if you're just tuning in. Now, if you're new to my channel, I'm a licensed real estate agent inside of Seattle, Washington. You can get a hold of me right here below. But I want to give you an overview of where the market's going and what we're seeing inside of Seattle because I don't like to have a channel that's just, hey, here's the top 5 things to do inside of Seattle. I want to give you the nuts and bolts so you have an idea of what it actually looks like and what it costs to buy a house out here. Now, let's start in September of 2020. September of 2020, we sold 1,303 houses. Now, September of 2024, that's just this last month, we sold 586 houses. Now, that's not a lot. That's half of where we were at. And as you could tell, we went into the numbers a little bit here, but I'm going to go over them. There was 1,303 that were sold in 2020 for September. In September of 2021, there was 1,264 homes sold, so about 3% less. Then we had a sizable dip, and this is when the interest rates changed. And we had, in September of 2022, we had 846 homes sold. Now, in September of 2023, that's last year, we had only 665 houses sold. And then, like I said, this year we've only had 586 homes sold. So it's about 12% less from last year, and the year before that it was 22% less, and the year before that it was a third less. So even though interest rates are starting to change a little bit, there's not going to be an unlocking and moving around of what's happening. What we're seeing a lot right now in the home sales, we're dealing with the deaths, the divorces, the mandatory changes of hands inside real estate that happen a lot because, like I said, life events do happen. But I want to give you an idea that we're at a very low point inside the Seattle market. Because if you came to me and you said, hey, Victor, I want to buy a house right now, I'd say, great, I did the math for you, boo. There's 2,200 homes available for purchase inside of Seattle, Washington, but we only sold 586 last month. So based on my rough numbers, that means we have 4 months of inventory, and that makes us square in a buyer's market for Seattle, Washington. Now, if you're on the investor side, or if you're on the seller side, or if you're on the buyer side, or even the renter side, I want to give you an idea of where you're at, so you have a general gist of what you're dealing with for housing inside of Washington. Now, when I did the numbers for the homes that are available on market right now, it comes out to $645 a square foot. And then when I compare it to actually what was sold this last month, we only sold $586 a square foot. So this means roughly it's about a 16-20% increase of what's listed to what's actually being sold. Now, if you want to go over some of the mortgage side of things, let's actually get into that. So I go into Investopedia, and it took me a while to find where they put this inside their documentation. If you watched a couple of my videos before, you would have noticed that I usually cite Investopedia. Now in Investopedia, it says that our interest rates right now for Washington as an average, and these are advertised rates, are 6.12. Now, that's with a 20%, at least a 20% down payment, and a credit score of 680 to 740. Now, when I go into my mortgage calculator and actually do the numbers for that, what it comes out to is a mortgage payment for the average house, which today, the average house looks like a 1,733 square foot house. That's 3 beds and 2 baths that was sold inside of Seattle, Washington. Now, that's over the last 5 years. So I did all the data for you on that. Now, if you have questions on this or you want to get into it specifically for your situation, you can reach me down below. But the average house, like I said, was $1,015,000. What that would cost on today's mortgage rates are roughly $5,500 a month, and that is just your interest and your payment only. This does not include any taxes, special assessments, insurance, or even the big ones, HOAs. Right now we're seeing a very big hold up inside of the condominiums because condominiums right now have very large HOAs. So we're seeing a sizable decrease in the sales activity inside of that. Now, if you were to compare this to just the interest rates that were a couple of weeks ago or even a month ago, you were looking at about 7 at least. So what that comes out to is you're saving about $400 a month, but it's really not that much when you actually compare this, especially when we get into the fact that the household average, like I said, is $120,000. Now, with a $60,000 down payment and a low monthly debt occurrence, and even with a 6.12% rate, you can only afford roughly a $475,000 house. Now, this is a little bit better than what it was just a couple of months ago when the interest rates were a little bit higher. But we're also seeing an unaffordability issue because, like I said, the average house inside of Seattle, Washington is being sold for $1 million when the average person can only afford half that much. So we're seeing kind of a bifurcation of the market. The really high-end buyers are actually buying right now, and the low-end buyers, there's not enough available. Because when I actually looked through this, there was not a lot that was actually sold under $700,000, and that's usually where we're having a lot of actually the inventories moving. Now, I want to go into days on market. Days on market right now for the last month, we're averaging about 35 days on market. Now, what that means if you're new to real estate or something like that, days on market means if I took your house and I put it on the market, roughly it'd be about 35 days before somebody brings you an offer that's acceptable for you and you decide to actually accept that. Now, the year before that, it was 30 days on market, and then it was 26 days on market in 2023. In 2022, my mistake. In 2021, it was 23 days on market, and back in the COVID time, it was 23 days on market. So as you can see, there's a very large increase in time on market. And just speaking from experience, I have one listing that's over 90 days on market, just so you have an idea. So there is a very large slowdown inside of this area. And even though prices did increase just a little bit, 4% from this year to last year, we had a decrease in total sales by 12%, which is very large. So I want to give you an idea of where we're at inside of this market, because like I said, a lot of the real estate agents out there only say, hey, here's the Space Needle, here's the gum wall, and let's talk about Seattle. I want to give you an idea of what's actually going on inside of Seattle. Now, I also want to cover the renter's perspective, because the renter out there, they're sitting there, they're trying to figure out when's a good time to buy or when's a good time to enter the market. And it's usually after the summer rush, and that's where we're at right now. So as a renter, if you were to rent the average house that was sold, and again, that's a 1,733 square foot house, that's 3 beds and 2 baths. If you were to rent that right now, and rents for a single family house are a little bit higher than just an apartment. But if you were to rent that, it would cost you about $4,700 a month. And then, like I said earlier, if you were to buy it, it would cost you about $5,500 a month, plus your insurance, plus your taxes, plus HOAs and everything like that. So this is why we're seeing a little bit of a hesitancy from the renters moving into this buyer's market. And also the buyers also selling because we're just having a standstill. So I want to kind of just go over that for you in depth because, again, I want to take the time to actually go through some of this and what it means to you. Because I could just read you the spreadsheet, or I could go over specifically why this might matter to you. And I'd love to talk to you. You could reach me right here. I'd love to work with you, explain to you what's going on in the market. And if you have questions, as always, you can reach out. I hope you have a great day, and it was a pleasure working with you.